Alright guys, here we are back in the shop. Left you with a disassembled Remington 597. I'm going to go back in here and we are going to reassemble this. The thing that on the disassembly that I didn't do was pull this safety out. There's a roll pin here in this little hole, runs across right there. Let's see, can we see? That holds a spring in and a detent, and that detent holds the safety in. It's not worth pulling out, man, unless you actually need to do some sort of repair or something in there. Don't pull that out. It's literally just a roll pin that drives out and it all comes out. It's real easy. I'm not going to do it because it's a pain in the ass to get back in, and these roll pins, being a plastic here, tend to remove material every time you punch one in and out. And I just don't want it, just randomly falling out. I did have to pull it out though. That spring and everything else, that detent was rusted into the plastic so bad, the safety, you couldn't put it on safe. It was stuck on fire, and I had to pull this out, pull the safety out, and then get up underneath here and pry the detent out and the safety both. I had to drive them out. There was rust that had built up and caused it to seize in the plastic. And so now, obviously, it works fine. Got it cleaned up and lubed real good. Anyways, let's put our trigger assembly back in there. I'm going to start with the trigger itself. We're going to assemble, put in here. And we're going to line up our hole. Like I said, this pin is the only one that matters. This is the one that actually holds it into the receiver. The rest of these here, I believe, are all the same diameter, and it doesn't matter what hole they go into. You shouldn't have any issues at all. And if you look there, all those pins, they're all the same size. So we will start by popping that guy in there, and we will take our hammer. Oh, must not have had the hole lined up, huh? Let's see. What in... it's kind of important to make sure all these parts are lined up before we start hammering pins through. There it goes. She's in. Now, let's see. We'll do this pin, and all this pin, literally all it does is hold the spring on, the trigger return spring. But you're going to have to make sure that that spring gets over the pin as you smack it through. And I missed it. That's alright. We're going to take our fancy little fork screwdriver thingy here, and let's see if I can get this on camera. Should let go on me. Yeah, we'll just push that pin back out and see if we can't. Yeah, that'll be easier. Just push the pin back out, and what I'm going to do is I'll use this as kind of a slave pin. And we'll just tap that back through. And make sure that that spring gets up and over that other pin there. There we go. Just so it doesn't come off. That guy. And of course, it's not going to work because it has to have that sear in place for that all that to do what it's supposed to do. All right. Now we need to put that sear spring back in there, down there in that little hole. And like I said, it's hot glued from the manufacturer, and all I did was go in there and use some of that calcium grease to kind of hold it in. I use the calcium grease because it's all I have in the shop right now. Vaseline works immensely better because you can use much less of it, or like a bearing grease or something. There's just it's got more viscosity to it, so it will hold hold shit in better. So the sear, you kind of have to hold it in its little dilly bop there to get this pin to go through. What am I doing? Fuck it. There we go. It's you're fighting two springs when you put that sear in there, but now we have a trigger group in and working. So now it's time to put the hammer back in. When we put the hammer in, this here is how you want it set up, or excuse me, rather like this. So that little loop is up behind the hammer, and then these spring legs are going to interact down here up against these little nubs in the plastic. And what I'll probably do is, where'd my punch go? Yeah, I'll use this as a kind of a slave pin thing too, just to align everything before I drive this pin in. I know I'm doing all this shit off camera, man, but it doesn't help me if I can't see what I'm doing to show you what I'm doing either. Let's see, I'm gonna come from this side, so push it down. Looks like I got it most of the way, huh? Go there. Yeah, okay. So put that pin in. There you go. And your hammer should come back and cock, which it did. Safety works. Trigger works. When you're testing these hammers and stuff like that too, don't put your thumb or anything way back here and expect to catch that hammer. It's under a lot of spring tension and it'll bruise the shit out of you. I put my thumb like right on it and catch it that way instead of letting it. I mean, it's the back of the bolt, so ain't hurt nothing, man. But when it comes up, man, I mean it's got some speed to it and some heft, and it'll bruise the shit out of your thumbs. Put our ejector, put it back in, and it just rides in that little groove on the plastic here. Let's see, maybe that way. Yeah, that little groove there. And so put it back in there, and we'll get our pin through that. You seeing? Now we need to put our bolt catch back in there. Pretty simple. The spring will have to go, you see the little leg there going up and over there? That's how it gets oriented. You can take the pin and kind of start it through this thing first and hold the spring. And you can start it kind of up here, but you're gonna have to get that spring leg over that little notch in the plastic there, like that. That rear leg sits in that notch right there, and up over this, and then we'll stick our magazine in there. See how it pops up, and then there, and we'll, yeah, whatever, it works. You get the idea. That's all there is to her. So we'll set that back aside here. As in the disassembly, we'll put the barrel back in. Like I said, it just kind of rides in that little notch there. And then we're going to put our angle of the dangle thing and slide it in. Those two wedges opposing. And shouldn't be an issue. We'll get our screw over there, and I'm going to start it just kind of finger tight there. And again, we'll This thing really does not need to be super, super tight, man. Being wedged in there, it'll hold up and won't have any issues. Just don't crank the crap out of it, because again, you're running a steel screw into. No, I'm lying to you. It's going into the steel here, so I guess you could put some force on there. I don't think it's necessary though. I don't know why I was thinking this went into the receiver. I know for a fact it does in the 1022s, man. You'll booger up a receiver there pretty quick if you over tighten those barrel screws. Yeah, it goes into that steel. My bad. But it's wedged in there, man, and it doesn't take a whole lot as long as it's good and tight. I'm going to put the bolt back in. Actually, no, I'm going to put the buffer in first. Little buffer rubber goes right back there in that hole there. Oh, man. The obvious, like, hole jokes. Fuck this thing. It doesn't just pop in there as easy as other ones do. Get in there. Maybe if I could put some twisty pressure on it or something, man, I don't know. I can grab it from the backside or something and pull it through, huh? Nope. Really not enough room. That and those pliers suck ass. There we go. Yeah, snatch it from the back end there and pull it the rest of the way through. Little tiny set of pliers. There we go. And it's seated. Now I can put the bolt back in. Just kind of set it in there. It's no biggie thing. You're gonna want it to be kind of in battery. These springs ride here on the bolt as the rod goes through them. So, I mean, what you can really do, if you wanted. Let me see. How did I do this last time? I can't remember. I think I kind of squished the springs on the bolt here, put both rods in, and started the springs onto the rod. There, and then drop the bolt in, and you gonna have to kind of push the spring back up over the. You bastard! You bastard! There, these things are a pain in the ass, but focus on one at a time and just kind of compress the spring over the rod as you go. Like I said, they're not real tough, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah, it looks like I got that one for the most part. There's one. And then we'll compress the spring down here and kind of guide it over the rod as we go. Yeah, just a fucking pain in the ass. Trying. Oh fuck! I want to play with me, dude. It's mine. Fucking playing. There we go. And you just got to make sure that those go into the, you'll see the little recesses in the front of this barrel escutcheon there, and that's, you got to make sure they go in. Pull the bolt back, and it's kind of a unique system that Remington uses here, and it seems to work pretty good, but boy, is it a pain in the ass. There we go, there's one. Last one. Let's see if we can get this other one to go in. There we go. Now, let's see, is it a little guy? Yeah, little guy. Like I said, with these here, you don't have to tighten them up a whole lot, man. These just need to go flush with the back of the receiver. What happened there? That was interesting. Yep. Guess what? I didn't have that barrel seated all the way. Popped out on me. Quite interesting. So, what did we learn? Let's make sure everything's good and tight and seated. And what the fuck over? I'm gonna go grab a different tool. I'll grab it. A ration T-handle thing here, man. That'll help me get in there and let's see here. There we go. No, I guess check that thing, man. It didn't do that to me last time, so yeah, barrel's in there good and tight now, I think. Oh, the second one in there to hold that little rod down. Make sure it doesn't come out. Like I said, just flush with the receiver. I mean, you don't have to put a lot of tight. I mean, if you feel it bump into that rod, I mean, you can stop, man. Don't put any more torque on it. You know, flush with the receiver there. We'll put our charging handle back in, like meow. It should just pop in. As long as your bolt slides freely, you got it. You don't want to, yeah, like I said, you don't want to over torque that, man, because it'll put those rods into a bind, and then this just won't function correctly. Put our trigger group back on, and it slides down into that little recess right there, that little gap. You've got a lip on the front of this thing, right mirror, and that will, fucking magazine or slide stop, whatever bolt catch. There we go. Sit down in there like that, and that's what holds the front. And then our big old long pin here, go in the back. Come on, little guy. Pretty well just push through. Make sure it flushes out, like so. Let's see, get all this bullshit out of the way now. That. Oh yeah, that's for that. We'll hold on to that. And there. And we'll put it back in the stock, like so. Just kind of slide it in there. I can screw. These stock screws don't need to be real tight. The front one goes into steel. I think the back one is going into that aluminum. So bear all that in mind so you don't torque the shit out of them and end up stripping your receiver, because then you're fucked. Just kind of hand tight, man. Boop. It's a 22. It's not like it's gonna go fucking raging on you or anything. Magazine, as long as you put it in the correct way. And there we have it. Last round hold open. Magazine comes out. Let's see, safety works. Yep. Cool. That's it. that's kind of all she wrote, man. Get really simple guns. There's a whole lot of them out there. There's a whole lot of parts, aftermarket stuff. You can cool kit it out. You can tactical it out. I got it real cheap, man. I think it's, you know, it'll do a great job behind the seat of my truck just to have a little 22. And so, yeah, you got any questions or comments or anything like that, man? Leave them down below. Like, share, subscribe, man. Appreciate you guys hanging around and watching the goofery.